There they are. It's like not come on. So we're using Joanne's
Okay, there you
gadget.
go.
Hello. Hi, Terry.
Hello.
Welcome to the cottage porch.
Oh my gosh. Sorry. We're
No, it's
not
totally
tech savvy.
fine.
Okay.
Listen, nobody's really watching it, so it's totally fine.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good. Okay.
It's always this Facebook Live stuff can be challenging.
Yes.
Oh,
I still
Lord.
haven't figured it all out.
Okay.
Can you hear me
Oh,
okay?
you're so beautiful.
Well, thank you. I got out of my scrubs and threw on some makeup. And I have a good lighting system, and
Yes.
my cat's
Yes.
nearby. So yeah, if you want to get started, you can introduce yourself.
Okay.
And thanks again for being here.
Certainly.
You're one of our prize stories, and we really just love it when you can inspire others.
Yes.
And even we get inspired. We do this all day, and hearing stories like yours like inspires us to eat the right stuff and to tell
That's
others.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. So you want me to start now?
Sure.
Okay. My name is Terry Kelsheimer, and I've been a patient of Dr. Johnson's since March of 2019. And it's been a long, fruitful trip on this. I started I was bike riding over 300 miles a week, and just to stay in shape. And I couldn't get enough to drink, constantly thirsty. And Joanne, my wife, was working for a sports medicine doctor, and she suggested maybe I go in and see her and see what they had to say about my condition. So I go in and they drew blood, and I'm sitting on the same examination table that Dr. Johnson has in his office, little short thing that the legs come up on and all. And they took my blood, and the technician left the room. The doctor came in, and we were talking a little bit. She was just finding out what I've been doing in my life, why I was there at seeing her. The technician came back in and whispered to her, and she left the room. Well, that was kind of like, what was that all about? She came back in the room, and she's white as a ghost. And she hit me as hard as she could in the chest, knocked me over backwards onto the examination table. Because being a sports medicine doctor, she didn't have any real expertise in diabetes or heart condition or blood condition or anything. She thought I was going to have a stroke there because my readings were 13,000. My glucose was 13,000. That was high above their machine. They had to send it to the hospital, get the actual number on that. And they prescribed me a medication that in about 4 weeks, it was back down to normal. I wasn't eating anything that should do that with my blood sugars and my glucose readings and all of that for my blood. And it scared her to death. And she about scared me to death when she knocked me over backwards because she was afraid. And so that started my journey through diabetes and going from one doctor to another. And they all had totally different aspects of how I should be treated. One of the doctors, they wanted me to be around 250 on my blood sugar readings, because then I wouldn't have to worry about going into a coma. And 250 was better than dying from going into a coma. So that's how he treated me. So I'd probably be blind or crippled or something in a few years, keeping it at 250. But that's where he felt comfortable. And so it was just one item after another. And the doctor put me on a insulin pump. So I was on an insulin pump for 11 years before Dr. Johnson suggested that we look at another option. And I saw him on March the 1st, 2019. And he said, here, I want you to start doing this here, and I'll call you at home sometime at the end of the week. And so on Friday of that week, around the 8th of March, he calls me at home here. And he asked me what my numbers were, and I told him. And he says, okay, turn off your pump. It's like, that's been my life connection for 11 years. And you just say, turn it off. And he says, well, do you trust me? I said, but I've known you for 8 days. But I said, okay, I trust in you. And so I turned it off, and it's been off ever since. I haven't had it on. Blood sugar readings are somewhat high, but not what you would consider diabetic high, but higher than a normal. And never looked back. And so I trust you and Dr. Johnson with my life because of the information that I've learned from you. And that group
amazing story.
Yes, the group that you're the leader of there, and we learn how to cook, and we can talk to each other and find out how to do this, or did this work for you? That didn't work for me, whatever. But it's a group that I hope that we get back to soon with this COVID issue more cleared up than it is now. And it's great having met all of those people and getting tips on what to cook and how to live your life every day and not be afraid of this diabetes thing and have some doctor knock you over backwards off their examining table and go on and just learn from each of us.
Right. That's a crazy story. That's crazy sugar. Our machine only goes up to 400, so 13,000 is.
Yeah, hers didn't either. So they had to send me to the hospital. I had to send the readings to the hospital, which was about 5 blocks away, to find out what their machine said.
Wow.
I had
yeah,
no
you're
idea.
lucky to be here.
Yeah, I felt fine.
You're
I
lucky
didn't
to
feel
survive
anything.
that. Yeah.
So, but
wow.
Joanne left the room, so she could tell you more about this doctor than I know about her, but she was very inexperienced and
that's an alarming number for anyone.
Yes.
It's a surprise, and you really don't want to be the doctor that has to tell your patient that they're diabetic either, of course.
Right.
But but in our office we have other answers,
Uh-huh.
so it's other options. So that's always easier to. Okay, hey Joe. So do you want to maybe talk about like how you met Dr. Johnson, how you heard of us?
A very good friend of mine, about 8 years ago, she told me that I should be trying this paleo diet because, you know, from what she's told, she's not a diabetic, but she has other issues that she contends with every day. And the paleo diet with that would maybe help my diabetes numbers after I've been diagnosed with diabetes. And I did that for 5 years. And as you probably know, and a lot of you are people that know that the paleo diet is heavy into meats, cheeses, dairies, and very low on fruits and vegetables, very low on those, because that causes your blood sugar to go up according to what the beliefs were. So after 5 years of being on the paleo diet and not really getting anywhere, she says, well, I've now learned something new and I want you to try my doctor, Dr. Johnson. So Melanie, who is my life coach now, she had me set up an appointment with Dr. Johnson, and that's where I've been with him now for a little over 2 years and feeling great. So every day is a new experience with him because I learned something new today that he wants me to try. And so I'll try it and then see what the numbers look like and go on from there.
Yeah, it's a challenging nutritional treatment.
Yes.
But it really does make people feel better to do it under the guide of a physician.
Yes.
And then he's constantly learning, like he's always following the new research. And he's been treating sick and healthy patients with a plant-based nutrition treatment for like 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So Esselstyn only saw the sick patients, and Dr. Greger doesn't even see patients, but they're all very important in providing us information. But Dr. Johnson is very humble, but you know, he has lots of experience in this, and was never able to help people in the way that he can now before he learned about this nutritional treatment.
Yes.
And it's kind of like created his own twist on the Esselstyn
Yes.
plan. But you were strict to Esselstyn. And then Melanie, I remember what she texted me over the weekend, and she was like, "Can we talk?" So she told me about you, and she was like, "Do you think that's a good idea if you could see Dr. Johnson?" And we worked you in that week. And then like we would monitor your sugars over the weekend. So that's what happens. Like if an insulin dependent diabetic does this nutritional treatment, Dr. Johnson takes them off their short acting insulin like right away, because as soon as you cut out meats and dairy and oils and processed foods,
Yes.
like your sugar's going to tank, right? So and then he has, we monitor the sugars, and then he decides when the long acting insulin needs to stop. So it can be dangerous because it works so well. So this is no one should stop their insulin without their doctor giving them guidance. But we watched you very closely all weekend.
Yes.
And Melanie helped, of course. And then Melanie cooked for you.
Yes. For months.
So that was
to begin with.
Right. So she's your vegetarian vegan angel, of course.
Yes. I spoke to her tonight just before I came on here.
Me too.
More information from her and whatever. So she's been a great help in this trip. But it's so frustrating because I've talked to people who are full-blown diabetics here in the Saluda area, and all I get is, well, I'm not giving up cheese, I'm not giving up beef, and I'm not giving. Okay, I'm not telling you have to. I'm just saying that when I did it, that made this difference in my life, and I wanted you to experience that also. But more people don't even want to attempt to give up meats and cheese and dairy and that type of thing. So you're inspiring the ones of us that are interested in preventing and reversing chronic disease. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your peripheral neuropathy over the years?
Well, my hands were closing from neuropathy.
From your diabetes.
From the diabetes. And I lost all the feeling in my hands. And I don't know if you can see that. I've never had my hand that straight in 15 years. I've only got the little finger now. It has a bend to it, but the rest of it is more flat than it's ever been. I still have a lot of nerve damage in my hands. 14 surgeries in 5 years at the VA to try to alleviate the numbness and to get my hands somewhat usable. And it didn't take any of that. It just took eating correctly. And I needed that coach to tell me what I needed to do. And Dr. Johnson and yourself and Melanie have led me onto this trip that, if it wasn't for this, I don't know where I'd be today, but this has only been a little over 2 years ago. It's drastic
incredible. And you are your own hero too. Like you had to want to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. And then
I spent years as a bike rider, and I'm thinking that's what got me to the point that I have a goal, whatever that goal is. When you were riding a bike and you were going to do 150 miles or whatever, you concentrated on the goal and you just did it. It didn't matter how much it hurt you, how much tired you were. And that's kind of like how I've treated this way of eating, is keep your head down and just go with the program because it works, because it's worked for so many people. Nobody's ever gone on this and stayed on the diet and then had any kind of issues by staying on the diet. It's when you start getting off of it more and more is when you start having issues again.
You can tell. Emily, I just want to butt in here a little bit.
Of course, Joanne.
Forget the main thing that was really affecting all of us, because we knew he wasn't going to be here with us because he was in kidney failure. The doctors at the VA had told him, I don't know how long I got to live. And this really upset our daughter. Okay, Dad, you're going to have, I want you up here with me. I want to be close to you however much longer we have. Look at him now.
Right?
He lost all this weight. The kidney function was with the VA was monitoring him. The endocrinologist over there, they couldn't believe it. They didn't want him to do this. And she it just opened her eyes a lot about, oh my gosh, because Terry took several times and it kind of hurt his feelings, you know, because he trusted her to all this time, and she thought this wasn't the way to go. But now she asked Terry questions and you know, about the way of eating, and it's amazed her, you know. So, and he's taken stuff into her that she can take to her family, and this is what he wants to do. He wants to know, let everybody else know out there that is suffering this way, hey, you can still live, you know. Hey, you got a lot more life in you there, or whatever, you know. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
Yes.
And ask whatever
No,
else.
it's great. And so usually peripheral neuropathy is not reversible,
Yes.
but it is with this.
Mhm.
And then tell us a little bit about how you were walking when you met us.
Oh, with a
You were this bike rider before your diabetes, very
Right.
athletic.
I had to have a walking stick because I would fall over. I had very limited balance, and all of that was affecting everything I did. I didn't need it because of leg issues. I needed it for balance, and without that, many times I would have just fallen over. So all of these things were just piling on after a while. And when I started on the insulin, they had me on the standard U100 insulin, and in 2 years they had me on U500. And then I went to U500 on an insulin pump. It was like slipping away quickly. And
kidneys were
start eating correctly the way I should have been, and following instructions of people like with Melanie and yourself and Dr. Johnson, and this whole group of people that we network with here, more on a regular basis before COVID, but it's coming back, I know. And so that we'll be able to share information and meals and things like that when we have our get-togethers. And that's what I'm looking forward to, seeing you all again in person.
Yes, in person. Thank you for that, Terry. We're very proud of you. Could you say something about how, when you did go to the endocrinologist after your insulin pump was off?
Yes.
That's my favorite story.
That I went back there and I had my insulin pump in my hand. It was no longer attached to me. My numbers were looking great. And I had a nurse that you go see this nurse before you see anyone, is that getting my numbers and all that. She wanted to see what the readings were on my insulin pump. There weren't any because I hadn't worn it in over 3 months. So there were no readings going into the pump anymore. And as I talked to this nurse prior to seeing the doctor, and then she sent me into the doctor. And after I'd seen the doctor, we came out. They were all standing there in the hallway. And it broke me up because they're all clapping and cheering because I was no longer in that condition that I was just 6 months earlier. So it made that much difference in 6 months that it looked like I might last a few more years. And it's great. That's why I want to talk to people. Whoever wants to know, I want to talk to them, help them go on their own tour and have their own story. And I'm getting coached here.
That's fine. That's why
So,
Joanne's there.
Yeah.
What
Tell her
am I?
what she said, the endocrinologist lady, because every time she says, well, you're going to go back on.
Oh yeah, you'll be back on insulin in a short time.
Yeah.
Right. It's not sustainable, is what she said.
No.
Yes, no, she
Right.
didn't believe this was happening. Yeah.
But it is if you keep eating this way.
No,
It
right.
is sustainable.
And those nurses, like they'd never seen anything like it.
Right.
I mean, that's what they did all day for who knows how long.
Right.
And even in their whole entire career, they probably never seen anything like it.
No.
I've never seen anything like it.
No,
Until
I
started
had
working with Dr.
one
Johnson.
of the nurses told me that they don't have anyone that really even goes on a diet, and they're not allowed to say to the patients at the VA, you need to go on a diet and this is how we can help you. They're not allowed to say that. They don't want to make anybody feel unwanted to come to the VA if they've got a health issue. So they're not allowed to say that. In the waiting room, of the VA, they put in 2 machines about 1.5 years ago. Full-blown soda machine and a snack machine in the waiting room of the diabetes departments.
These guys are in wheelchairs.
And,
Wow.
you know, they're like, you're not getting it at all. I know somebody offered them money to put the machines in there, to put that going. But instead of saying, no, we can't have this, they didn't even stand up to that. They just did it because some other department head wanted that done. But
yeah,
they're not really supporting their patients, not like Dr. Johnson and yourself.
Oh,
that's
I
what
know.
we need.
Yeah. It's the number one way we save lives is food. And so every doctor
Yeah.
should be talking to their patients about food. And
Yeah.
there's some patients that might not want to change their behaviors. But Dr. Johnson says he doesn't decide that for them. He lets them decide.
Right.
And there are patients that surprise him all the time that he
Mhm.
wouldn't have necessarily thought that they would do it.
Right.
But they're sick and they've tried everything and they want to be here and they want to be here for their families and
Right.
they do it and then they see results and then how can you really argue with that?
Right. Right. Yes.
Yeah. Amazing.
Absolutely. I believe
And then
in it wholeheartedly, and I'll help with anyone who has questions. I'll be more than happy to talk to them. I'm not going to direct you. It's like you said, they have to do it on their own, but I'll give them whatever information that will help make that transition easier for them.
No, right. And I think for a lot of people, just knowing someone or hearing one story means more to them than statistics.
Right.
Even though there's lots of research and this is like evidence-based medicine.
Right.
I think it's really inspiring to hear your story
Mhm.
and to see you right there and that it happened for you and it can happen for
Yes.
anyone.
Yes.
Yeah. And tell that story.
Oh, she can't see it. They can't see it. Yeah. I don't know. Do you
That was with a neuropathy. I couldn't even touch these 2 fingers anyway. And I couldn't no longer snap my fingers. To do that simple little clicking of the fingers was like amazing. One time we would just come to one of your meetings and I'd noticed that I was sitting there and the speakers had said something and then they did that. So I did it at the same time and I could actually do it. I could actually snap my fingers, which had gone away for years. And I told you it sounds so trivial to me even to say, oh, look what I can do now that I hadn't been able to do. And you said, no, it's a big improvement over what you could do. And all these baby steps add up to a larger footprint later on. And so it was great. And you are always very supportive of when we're doing things and things happen in our lives, and you were always letting us know that's not a minor. That was very encouraging to keep us on this road. It's not easy. You don't eat the things you want to eat today that you did before, but it's so much better that we are eating this way than what it was before.
Right. And it's yummy.
It's yummy. It is good. It's very good. Yes.
And then Dr. Johnson said that you were, that when he was telling you that you could have fruit, that you guys were quite surprised at that because you had been avoiding carbs before meeting Dr. Johnson.
Yes. All these doctors, all these endocrinologist doctors prior to even the military ones, the civilian doctors, they were saying the same thing. That, you know, when you're giving yourself the insulin for a meal that you have to take before you eat, everything's based on how many carbs are you going to have for that meal. And that's how much insulin you give yourself before you eat so that you could do it. So that gets in everybody's mind. Carbs and insulin are some kind of connection that, you know, you need to do. And so my whole life, I drive Dr. Johnson crazy when I will say something, but it's based on what I was always told before we really got with him. And I said even today that about starches, don't say starches. Say a potato or don't say that word, that starches or whatever, but it's because that's what's been beaten in my head for years ever since this thing started. So I was so surprised. How can I eat fruit if it's going to cause my sugar to go up and whatever? But it's not true.
I don't know. And then what did you just learn the other day? You went back on, who was it? McDougall? No, who did you listen to?
McDougal.
McDougal.
It wasn't, I read his book again.
Yeah, he listened to that, and he goes something about eating the potato. What did you say?
Well, it was when you start off with something, Esselstyn, McDougal are one of these doctors who are in the same area. And then you go on, you hear about other doctors or what their suggestions are, you get lost. There's so much information. And I told Dr. Johnson today, I was wayward. I didn't eat meat, I didn't eat dairy, and none of those things, of course, but I got lost in all of the information I've been getting over the last 2 years. And so I just need to refocus, go back and read somebody and then start again and then go from that point forward. So
Yeah.
it can be overwhelming.
It's an information overload for sure.
Yes.
And like on the internet, you can find what looks like evidence or proof of anything that you want to believe.
Yes.
So yeah, it's why it's really good to do this under, a plant-based
Yes.
doctor's guide.
Yes.
And of course, he's family medicine doctor, but specializes in, well, just evidence-based medicine and talks to his patients about
Yes.
food. Yeah, it can be like I reread Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, so that's always inspiring. Even though for our patients that aren't sick, we do just a variation of that. But it's still just like all these amazing stories of these people that wouldn't be here without Dr. Esselstyn.
Yes.
It's always it's a little old, it's from 2008, but it's always really inspiring just to know the power in all of this. And then sometimes I listen to How Not to Die. But yeah, if I ever run into anything that just seems like too much, or it's like an offshoot of what we do, then I just ask Dr. Johnson. And I do too. I kind of get just focused back on the main thing.
Right.
And that's because Dr. Johnson does. You have questions. A lot of doctors won't talk to you. They just, here, you do it this way, and that's all I'm going to tell you. But, everybody has questions, and, and he's there always. He says, if you need anything, something, he'll give you something new to try. Now, then he checks with you. And then he says, if anything changes right away, you call me. Here's my phone number. What doctor is going to give you his phone number? Nobody I know. I worked in medicine 40 years. No doctor will give you their phone number. So, this makes you feel really good that, somebody's going to stand behind you. So, yeah.
And I'm there answering the phone too, and answering questions. And if I don't know the answer, I ask Dr. Johnson.
Yes, right.
But we have lots of patients with questions, which why that we're there, and that's how we learn too. We learn how to, like, what questions are patients asking, or what do they need a little bit more reassurance on or information on. Someone had asked when you went to the endocrinologist, like, so she knew ahead of time that you were looking at this plant-based nutrition and she didn't want you to do it, and then she saw you without your insulin pump, so she knew that you were doing the plant-based whole food, plant-based, no oil. And then she was happy, but she said it wasn't going to be sustainable. And here you are, still off your insulin pump.
I still haven't seen her for 2 years because the VA has been shut down.
Yeah.
So they aren't seeing people except
thank God we have
phone.
Dr. Johnson. That's what I told him today. Right. Thank God you're our doctor here, Hey.
Yeah. So he's monitoring that end of things for you.
Yes. Yeah, which
great.
Is much better handled with him than them anyway. So
well, it's sad. It's sad just, who else just doesn't know about it, that could know about it, and they would want to do it just like you, and would save their lives. It's really hard to imagine that, because our government doesn't tell us to avoid meat and dairy because we have those industries to support, and if half the population ate this way, like, we would have a bigger crash in the housing market crash, because we have a healthcare industry to support as well. Hence the maybe that's why there are vending machines in the diabetic lobby at the VA. I mean, it's really sad. So that's why, like, this is how we're passing the word. And so we have patients that see Dr. Johnson who tell their families, and then they read the book and maybe see a plant-based doctor in their neck of the woods, and it's not a secret anymore.
Right.
there's still lots of patients that don't know about it, but
Yes.
the word is getting out.
Right.
So
they all think that if they don't have meat in their life, they just can't exist. They don't even want to try. Well, maybe you'll feel much, much better if you take these things out of your everyday. Like you were saying, is you have to eat to live, not live to eat. So it's like eat the way that you should be and extend your life and your health of your life in a much better condition than if you just went on the way that got you into this. So I wanted to get that all improved. So that's why I was interested in a Dr. Johnson and yourself and this whole food group that we all meet with and talk and converse and give our
Share
life,
recipes.
share recipes, share our stories and all of that, so that maybe something will click with someone else.
yes, exactly. And then we're re-inspired too, because it's always it feels good to reestablish, why we're all doing this. And when you hear a success story like yours, then you're like, that's why I'm doing it. And then, who knows how many of us are actually preventing diabetes because of what we're doing.
Yes.
We don't, you don't have a crystal ball to say, in 20 years, this is my future unless I do this. So
Right.
there's lots of unknowns that, we'll never really know. But it's just the healthiest way to eat, and if you want to be healthy. And again, it's really yummy. So you can have fruits again because they're really, really healthy for you. And so for our diabetic patients, it's not the sugar that is the bad guy. It's the oils and processed foods and animal products, all those inflammatory things.
Yes.
So there's a study where diabetics ate 20 servings of fruit a day in a whole food, plant-based, no oil nutrition treatment, and they like everything went down: sugar, weight, blood pressure. So it's just like that means it's not the carbs.
Right.
Yeah.
I eat 4 to 7 servings a day of fruit.
Good.
Which I'd stayed away from years because of what I was told.
And the potatoes.
So it
Yeah.
opens up what you can eat and bring flavors back into what you can eat, and not how you felt so overloaded with fats and things like that when you're eating normally before. And now it's like, it's weird because I've been on this for a little over 2 years now. I spent 8 years on the paleo diet. I've not missed meats and dairy at all.
Good.
I've been eating this way. That kind of surprised me in the beginning, that they're taking me where I was overload on that protein type style of the meats to none of the meat type proteins. And I don't miss it, even though that's all I lived on for several years. So it's like you said, it's all good food. Or, if it tasted like cardboard, nobody'd stay on this way of eating. But it doesn't.
Exactly. We wouldn't be meeting for potlucks. We would just put it on cardboard, right?
Try my styrofoam.
Exactly. And so with the nutrition treatment, our taste buds change. So like we don't crave the fat anymore after a month or so. So that's reassuring. And then we do reduce salt in the nutritional treatment. So, and that that you get retrained on your taste buds there as well, and you don't require as much anymore. And then you can actually taste the food.
Yes.
In its natural form. So like, because you're not using all these, artificial sweeteners or concentrated sweeteners, like an apple tastes really, really sweet, like it's supposed to again.
Yes. Yeah. And also before, when I was a diabetic, I had the good fortune that I had Bell's palsy on both sides of my face. So now I can't smile because they won't go up anymore. This was years and years ago when I experienced this. Fact is, I was going through culinary school, and I went into school that morning, and the chef walked up and he looked me in the face real close. He said, "Did you have a stroke?" Well, I'm kind of a smart ass anyway, so I said yes, but I thought I should come to school anyway. So, and it was just the Bell's palsy had just come down on the left side, on the right side of my face, and the left side, and was not a fun time. I had to have my eye stitched halfway across because I couldn't blink because it wouldn't close. So they were worried about getting flour from the cooking into my eye, causing infection. So they had to stitch my eyelid halfway across. It's always something.
Right.
But I don't care. I'm glad I'm where I'm at today because of this way. And I hope more people get that bug to want to give it up, the old way of eating and suffering and shortened your lives. Or you're overweight, you can't do something, you're miserable with the way you feel, the way you look. You can make a change. It's on all of us to do.
Right. And you lost some weight too. This is not,
gosh,
Dr. Johnson said, it's not the reason we do this, but it's just part of the journey, but it's lots of people's favorite part of the journey.
Yes. When I was initially with the VA, they treated everything with medication, everything. I was on 18 different medications a day for diabetes and high blood pressure. And I went up to 278 pounds in about five years, up to 278 pounds with them.
Couldn't walk.
And that's why I had the walking stick and all of that. So by eating properly, I don't have the walking stick anymore. I don't have the 278 pounds. I'm 160 pounds, which is
Wow.
a much improvement over that other way. And thanks again, Melanie, for getting me started this way, and Emily for continuing this with my life and all, my wife, and then of course Dr. Johnson. So much improved.
Very good. Amazing.
So that's why now I can't
Every time I
smile
hear it,
now,
I'm just
'cause
amazed.
I always look like I'm frowning because the muscles don't work anymore.
Oh, that's all right.
Holding it up.
You're glowing, Terry.
I'm glowing.
So, and I think the Melanie story is really inspiring. So, we can, if we have a friend that is interested in eating this way, we True Blues could do that for them. We could cook for them, and or they could come see Dr. Johnson, and then we could cook for them.
Yes.
So that's really inspiring. And then some folks just don't want to do the cooking, but if they have a friend in the food group that likes to cook, then they could, give them money or buy the ingredients, and then they kind of like have a teamwork.
Yes.
So that's always, could think outside the box there.
Yes.
I love to cook.
Yes.
And then, but it just, I think you have to like get your mind around it and make it fun.
Yes.
And then figure out how to freeze things and new recipes, like we said, from the potlucks, which hopefully we'll get outdoors somewhere and do something.
Right.
We're still getting our heads around that.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to say it's 45th year
45.
anniversary.
Yes.
45.
Yes.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank
and that
you.
was on the 29th.
29th.
Yes.
Wow.
I've just gotten out of the Navy 45 years ago, and that was my only holiday. So that's the weekend we got married.
Well, it was a good holiday. Yeah, I just look at my notes that Dr. Johnson gave me about my Terry notes. Yeah, and it was, quite a shock to you, I'm sure, when you were this big athlete and now you're diabetic, and then your health went downhill.
Yeah. I couldn't understand it. I didn't.
It was so depressing for him. Yeah.
And that's what Dr. Johnson was saying. It was like, because a lot of people think that they could just exercise diabetes away, and you were already like this high performing athlete, and it still happened because it's the what you put between your teeth.
Yes.
Is the main thing. Exercise is good and it's important, but it's not as important as nutrition.
Right.
We've found.
Yeah. Back there in the late 80s,
so,
they believed when you're doing this athletic activities that you should do a thing called carb loading. And we ate nothing but carbs, meaning we would have pancakes with no butter and no syrup, just the pancake itself. And we would have spaghetti with no sauce on it, just the pasta noodles. And that's all we ate. And we used it for the quick energy because we were lifting, running, biking, and all of that so much of our day. But like you said, we were all in great looking shape, but we were dying on the inside because of, we were just poisoning. We were overworking that food, but we were still going to be dying from, well, the way that we were doing it.
Right. And all I'm sure not whole wheat
Oh,
pasta
no.
and pancakes either.
No,
right?
no.
The
Just had to be
refined.
pasta.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We didn't
Yeah.
do this brown breads and brown pastas, none of that stuff, you know, but
Yeah.
just didn't have sauce or butter, but still, you could still
No,
do it.
Yes. So it really is a lot easier than you think.
Yes.
Especially if you just take it day by day, and you can have even simple things like Dr. Johnson's, one of his favorite things is like beans and sweet potato and kale, like for dinner. Like it doesn't have to be this complex recipe.
Yes.
And you can batch cook on the weekend and have your your bean soup
Right.
every night, and have a salad every day. And it's nice to eat some variety, of course,
Right.
which Melanie cooked for you.
Yes.
You want to eat the same thing every day because you don't want to miss out on
Right.
different nutrients that are in different
Mhm.
foods, or just the flavor variety is inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you of course have some cooking education under your belt,
Yes.
so
Yes.
you just had to tweak
33
some
years.
things.
33
Yeah.
years in the restaurant business, cooking and all of that, and this is a different animal doing it this way.
Bingo.
Oh,
So, has it been
The no
adventure?
animal.
Yes, no
Yeah.
animal.
No, well, we really appreciate you sharing your story,
Certainly.
and because it helps others,
Mhm.
and really always makes us feel good that we are able to help someone as much as we've helped you.
Yes.
And these stories about reversing peripheral neuropathy, which even medical professionals say is impossible,
Mhm.
and we're like, well, we know Terry, and you've had terrible peripheral neuropathy and each extremity.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
a debilitating kind in your hands with multiple failed surgeries.
right.
And then here you are just, when did it start to improve after the nutritional treatment? Like it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
It started
Well, I'm
to,
thinking
yeah.
we're talking weeks, like 3,
Yeah.
4 weeks.
Starting
It
in-
started.
Yeah.
I mean, because they did elbow surgery on both sides because of the numbness. They did 4 carpal tunnel surgeries, hand surgeries and all that, trying to get rid of the neuropathy or the numbness and that type of thing. And all it took was eating right. Instead of all those surgeries that I had to recover from, and then another surgery, I just had to eat right. But I didn't know that when I started
Neither
this.
did the doctor. He even
Yeah.
apologized, the hand doctor.
He did apologize to me after the all of these failed surgeries. He came to me one day and he said he wanted to apologize for putting me through all this pain and therapy after each surgery, and nothing ever improved. Nothing ever improved in my hands and elbows and all of that. So, and that felt nice that he had said that. And he says, I want you to come back and show me how this miraculous journey has gone.
Yep.
He's been closed ever since. I haven't been able to see him. The VA isn't open. And of
He's
course,
retired.
now they don't give you information. So I don't know if he's even still practicing at the VA, because like I said, it's been over 2 years. So I haven't been able to show him how much improvement I've had on all of these things that he didn't see any improvement after his surgeries. But
yeah. Well, we could, I think you should write a letter, and we can find out how to get it to him.
yeah.
We'll use our professional contacts.
There we go. That'll work.
I'm good on the phone. Does anyone have any questions for Terry? Well, there's going to be lots of folks that are going to watch this afterwards because it's hard to
Right.
get home after work and
Right.
everything. But
Yes.
and then of course you're available for questions too. You
Yeah.
said so.
Yes.
If anyone asks any questions afterwards, I can certainly forward them to you.
Sure.
And thanks for that, because I think it really does help someone that's in a similar situation as you to like actually talk to somebody that did it.
Right.
Yeah. And it's we're here supporting you guys and ourselves with inspiration twice a month here. on the Feel Good Food group, and we hope to get back to some outdoor, at least potluck soon.
Yes.
So it's just kind of an ongoing thing.
Yes.
And it does take teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And you have
It
a
does.
really good team supporting you. And
Mhm.
you know, thanks to Melanie and Lindsay, who cared a lot about you and just wanted to help, and they found their own way,
Right.
and introduced you to us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we've introduced, I don't know how many people to you guys.
I know. Thank you.
Thank you. And they travel an hour to get there, you know, and they do it. They love you guys. It's just
Oh,
like,
thank
you know,
you.
wow. We couldn't believe how many people, all word of mouth. And that's what it takes, you know. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to see new patients, and
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, I definitely think he's worth the drive.
Yes.
I've never seen
Yes.
anything like him.
Yes.
And I've done this, you know, my entire adult life, and
Right.
even I grew up in medicine, and we never talked about food.
Mhm.
My stepdad's a doctor and my mom's a nurse, and you know, they didn't know about this. They weren't taught this in school.
Right.
Nope. No.
Right.
Or in
Yeah.
culinary. That you're not taught any of this stuff. It's all, you know, whoa.
Right.
You know.
No,
Food
right?
group, yeah. Even at the hospital when Terry was really bad,
Sure.
and then you know I kept talking to the oh gosh, my mind died, the nutritional lady at the hospital. You know, I told him he's diabetic, he does not get any of this food, do not give him any of this. Well, the next morning, here they come with all the bad stuff, and he called me up, Joanne, I can't eat this. So I'd have to go and bring him in food, and then I talked to her and I says, I told you he cannot have this food. And she says, I have to give it to him. This is the hospital's policy. And I go, okay, we're taking him out of the hospital then because you're killing him.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And that was before
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
met us.
Oh,
Yes.
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 Yeah.
This is
That was in
35.
California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
35 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
Nope, it didn't.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, do you guys have anything else to say?
I don't think so. Probably with, oh man, 5 minutes after hanging up. Oh yeah, I should have, but I can't
Well,
think
if you
of
have,
anything.
just write a comment, Terry,
Okay.
under the video where people
Okay.
can read it. And
Okay.
again, thank you both for
Sure.
what, you know, all the support you've given
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
patients in our food group, and just
Thank
for
you
being
guys.
you and
Thanks.
Wow.
having the courage to try this.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
was
it's just,
it was scary.
I'm sure.
Well, it's against everything that I'd ever been taught. Now I know that was all incorrect teachings before, but
Yeah.
you know, that's the only thing I knew because that's all I'd ever heard
Sure.
and all. So
And then Dr. Johnson wants you to remove your insulin pump, which is like an appendage basically for 11
Yes.
years. It's just like,
Yes.
just take
It
off
even
your
had a
right arm,
name.
Terry.
I have to.
It was
I had to-
Al. They named it.
I had to name it because if I had to carry this thing, well, it's not 24/7. I actually did have to sleep with it. I had to attach to my underwear at night while I was in bed. But so 24 hours a day, I had this thing. So I was going to name him. He wasn't going to just be around. And so he was Al.
Wow.
And so Al's sitting on the shelf back here.
He's a reminder. We keep him here as a reminder of what was.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Well, thank you, Joanne, for helping
And
Yes.
tonight, and all of your
can
support
this
of
be
Terry.
shared? How can I share this?
So the Facebook group is private, but if you know any of your friends that want to join, you could just invite them, and then they can watch it from there.
Okay, because my
Yeah,
daughter
can't
wants
really-
to see it.
Yeah, if she can just join the food group, that would be great.
Okay, so she has to go on
Yeah.
and sign
And
in.
you
or
can
what?
sign because she lives in St.
St.
Louis.
Louis. Yeah.
Can
she's-
she join
Yeah, of
from there?
course. Of course.
Okay,
She,
okay.
From anywhere,
okay.
international.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Maybe you could get on from the space station even, Terry.
Maybe I could send her up there and she could try it out.
And then, yeah, I'll look and see if I can somehow download it and send it to you. If I can, then you can share it on your
Okay.
own
Yeah,
group.
that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. Yeah, we have a lot of friends around that would, I think, because they've asked a lot of questions. Oh, what was 2 years ago in October we get together with friends from Florida, and they come up here and we stay for about a week. They hadn't seen Terry, And I told them, and Melanie went with us that time. And so we went to Maggie Valley. We met up with them, and Terry got out of the car. You should have seen the looks on their face. They asked me, "Is Terry dying?" And I go, "No, he's living." And, you know, and everybody was asking questions, which is good because they see, you know, this is what he's eating. And I told them, you know, this is what he has to do. And a lot of them have started calls him up, asking questions, wanting to do this. And I had people from California where we used to live. They asked the same thing. "Oh my God, look at him. What's he doing?" So see, this helps what you're doing right now, putting it out there so people can see, "Oh, I know Terry. He didn't look like that." Or whatever, you know. Wow. So,
Right. It's amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
I know.
eye-opening for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, it's good. It's good to do this.
No, it is. And again, it's delicious. We have lots of
Yeah.
yummy
Yes.
Yes.
things. And
Yes.
yeah, and then you
Yes.
kind of learn how to you know, turn maybe a popular recipe into a compliant one.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Little tricks.
It's taken a little while, but yeah, it's not as hard as it used to be. Oh gosh, going out, it would take hours at the grocery store. Well, now, hey, we know where to go, and you know, but it's worth it. You know, hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you both so
Yeah.
much.
Yes.
And yeah, it's been really good.
Yes.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, my pleasure. Of course.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Night, night.
Night,
Night,
night.
sweetheart.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.